have to forgive me for looking more disheveled than usual. I mean, you start with a gargoyle and you add whatever the hell you want to call, just looking like miserable and you're not feeling great. 50 or so degree temperature changes on a single day beats the living heck out of anybody's immune system, and the allergens and all that stuff spike through the roof. I don't think people really take that stuff into account. But it also really worries me when people don't realize or feel a difference, which I think, sadly enough, because people are just in that piss poor health, it's like no difference. Whereas I go, oh, this feels bad. And like, what do you mean? You don't always feel this way? But that's kind of a sidetrack. I want to say that I've been doing a lot of philosophy recently, reading it, writing it, which is a very different thing for me. I don't really like the mental approach of things. I like logic and reason and mathematics. It's how I've come to make a lot of choices in my life, beliefs and the such. But philosophy is an incredibly powerful tool. I would say, though, for people who brand themselves as intelligent, you'll know if you're intelligent or not when you start philosophy reading it. Because there are two things that you're going to do. Is one, you're going to have to step outside of your comfort zone. You might be not changing your mind or reading something you disagree with, but you have to do it to grab that point of view to understand it. That's related to so many things, but philosophy, it's incredibly important to see where people come from, how they tick, why they tick, and then who was affected by those things. Like, I mean, I just reread Marx, and he's a drunken, spoiled baby retard. And I mean that in pretty much literal terms. He was a drunken, spoiled brat. So that didn't change, but it's important to read. And the other thing, this is where you'll really know if you're intelligent. If you're willing to step outside and read the other side of the coins, that's very important. But the other thing, you're going to sink yourself and get pretty dark for a while, emotionally. So prep for that one, have a support system around. But after you get through that little hump, you're going to read about things like nihilism and all that, and it makes you kind of feel empty and alone for a bit. But as I said, it's nothing, I obviously haven't hung myself. It's a shock to view things or to see how people view the world, even if you don't change your views or think of it. To know that there's people out there that just don't have a care or just want to use what existence they have to lash out, things like that can get scary in a way. Scary and empty feeling. And then when you start to apply it to different things about like how these people were brought up and whatnot, you start to wonder if it was just anger redirected, if they were just terrible people, and you don't, even if you don't sympathize with them ever, you think more on the subjects, and that it clears right the upset feeling I found, basically. So if you read something that makes you feel crummy, look at who said it and think about maybe why. Jump right through it. I know it's kind of weird that we're talking philosophy here, because why not post on YouTube, sitting in my office with the lights off, sort of, just the front lights on, talk about philosophy. You can probably tell my voice is cracking a little bit, but such is nature. So yeah, no, I think it's an incredibly awakening tool. The downside is you start to speak and think like a philosopher, and you can philosophize, which I don't philosophize. I don't know if that's the real word or the correct term. Everything and anything, and it gets to be a mixed blessing. You need to know when to hold your tongue for things, because it's a newfound and knowledge and lightened and language, really. So it's everybody loves going to the Italian restaurant and ordering this or that, or saying things in the right way. You want the mozzarella, it just makes people happy. And with this, it's the same kind of deal. Like everybody says, oh, look at that 911. It's a nice Porsche, because E at the end of a word in German becomes an A. So, or as my German teacher used to joke, you spend a lot of money on that car, you might as well learn to pronounce it. That A is worth $60,000, or I forget the exact joke, but you get the point. So yeah, you don't never want to beat your friends or family or anybody you work with philosophical views. I'm having fun with these words because they don't become real until you kind of bash them together. But someone will say something about any sort of news things like the NFL protests, and yeah, now my brain, I can go for 3 hours and chat and debate and bring down the thoughts of how I feel about it, why other people feel this way, what it really stands for, this, that, the other. Yeah, don't do that. Don't become that guy. That's the most important lesson. Is I don't really care if you read this stuff and get depressed. That's on you. I warned you. But if you become that guy, will you will be isolated even more so. um, but yeah, no, it's kind of my new hobby, my new thing. I like to listen to a lot of podcasts that deal with it. And I'd say I think being a lot older when I got into this, most of my views are pretty much not going to change or thinking things. I think I've become a lot more empathetic, though, which is a good thing. It's far from being soft or being self-destructive. It's something I've learned more so about what empathy actually is. Much like charity is the same way. It's actually, an exchange, much like a purchase. If you are on hard times and I give you $20 to have a hotel room, the next morning you're nice and clean and shaven and at a job interview. Charity is not giving $20 to someone to go buy a pack of cigarettes. That's just called stupid. But empathy is the same way. I can put myself and feel and care for people, but it doesn't mean you screw your whole life up or hurt other people because to protect someone's feelings. But I think that's an incredibly important lesson to learn for everybody. I probably am going to do a video on just that. Since we'll see, I don't want to turn this into a philosophy channel or anything like that. I think I'm outgunned. Even with people that agree with me, they do better production and all that stuff. I just am a silly bored economist with a camera, and that's why you're watching this, or nobody's watching this. Let's be a little more realistic about our view counts here. So there's my video.